Many controller settings guides have been published since FC24 came out, and most of them have one thing in common. They just give you the settings which worked last year, don't consider the new options at all, and frankly, don't give you much value. This controller settings guide is different. We actually went ahead and tested the new options and will now give you our detailed opinion. So let's get started. First things first, we have the competitive master switch, which needs to be turned on if you're playing online, so that's out of the question. Next up, we have the first very interesting setting right away, the shot assistance. Here you now have a new option that is called precision, and this one replaces the semi-assisted setting we've had before. Now this precision setting will make aiming more manual on your shots, and in the beginning you're definitely going to miss easy chances just because you're not used to it. But according to the description of this setting, if you are aiming correctly, then you are going to be rewarded with more precision and more power on your shots. I'm still testing this, but in my honest opinion, I think that there are actually chances that you will miss with the assisted setting that you are going to score with the precision setting. However, you trade in that upside potential for more pressure on your finishes and more difficult finesse and outside foot shots from distance as well. So I recommend the assisted setting for beginners and players who don't want to stress too much about their finishing, and I recommend the precision setting for strong players who are looking to gain that edge from perfecting their aim. Moving on to time finishing, this should be turned on as time finishing is once again strong this year. I would keep the assistance for through passes and lobbed through passes on semi for sure, because if you're trying to play manual through balls, you now got the precision passing feature for that. Ground pass assistance should be on assisted as you want your passing in midfield to be easy and precise. For cross assistance, I recommend having this one on semi so that you still have control over crossing towards the near post or far post. Lob pass assistance applies when you are switching sides or chipping the ball out in build-up. I'm playing on semi currently and I like it as I feel I get a little more control from this, but I think that assisted is fine as well here. Keep the pass receiver lock on late so that you can still switch your passing target last second in case a situation demands for it. Now, as I mentioned, precision passes are new this year and allow you to play manually aimed through balls and lobbed through balls by holding down R1/RB. I have recently figured out that the precision lob pass with R1 plus square or RB plus X works quite nicely, and I have the sensitivity setting on high. So that's what I suggest you to use as well, even though I will say that my fellow creator Taz thinks normal sensitivity is enough here, so it might also be personal preference. Clearance assistance on directional will keep you from clearing the ball into your own net, so that's what I recommend. Now for defending, we have the second big and interesting setting option: tactical defending versus advanced defending. Tactical defending is the setting you know already. You have one button, which is circle or B, and that button does everything for you, from seal outs over shoulder challenges to tackles. This is what you're used to and what I recommend for beginners to semi-advanced players who haven't mastered defending yet. Now the second option, advanced defending, gives you more control over things because you now get a second button. X/A is there for shoulder challenges and seal outs, while tackle stays on circle/B. I personally really like this new option, and I feel like you can win challenges in new ways and with new and very strong animations from your defenders. But as mentioned, this takes good understanding of different defending spots and good timing. So I recommend advanced defending for those who are looking to take their already stable defense to the next level. Moving on to the pass block assistance, this one I would keep on for sure because it will just make intercepting passes way easier for you, while you're very rarely getting punished by a defender auto lunging for the ball without getting it. For your switching, you have quite a few options. I currently play air balls and loose balls, but only air balls or manual are totally fine too. Only loose balls sounds weird to me, you might as well play manual at that point, and full auto switching you should just never play. Auto switching move assistance applies when you have something with air balls selected on auto switching. And let's say the opponent plays a lobbed through ball and you suddenly get auto switch to your center back. It can help you to have some move assistance here so that your center back keeps running back for a moment before he reacts to your left stick input that might still be in a completely different direction from the previous situation. So in short, I recommend to have this on low, but if you're confident and want full control, then you can turn it off completely. For right stick switching, I very much prefer the classic setting. Adaptive switching just feels slower and more clunky in my opinion. Same thing with the reference. Player relative just makes much more sense in my opinion. It's easier to know where your reference point is, so just keep this on player relative. Now, the sensitivity for your right stick switches is a new option this year. 4 is the default setting. In short, the way it works is when you have a lower setting, then players closer to your currently selected defender will be prioritized, even if they are not exactly aligned with your right stick input. On a higher setting, your right stick input will be more important, and so you will be able to switch to further away players easier. In my opinion, both on very low and very high settings, you will make switching mistakes, and so my recommendation is to keep this value around 4 or 5, but feel free to test out what works for you. Next, player switching applies to your quick switches with L1 or LB, and also to which player will second man press when you activate it with R1 or RB. Classic is the switching logic we always had, and it's a solid option. However, sometimes you will get player options for the switch that just don't have any immediate impact on the situation. Here, closest to ball comes in as a setting because it will prioritize defenders who are close to the ball. So in the previous situation, we might have been able to second man press with Davis right away. So this is an advantage. However, there are disadvantages as well. For example, when the opponent plays a pass to his striker and you press L1/LB for a quick switch to your center back, but because the ball went past your midfielder and he was closest to the ball when you pressed the button, you now have the midfielder and are out of your switching rhythm. So you gotta be aware of that. Goal side in general gives you very safe options, and I don't think this is a very viable setting for that reason. You want and you need pressure on the ball with second man press. That's why I'm currently still sticking with classic, and it's what I recommend, but make sure to test out closest to ball and see if it has enough upside for you. Player lock stays turned on, so you have that option. Icon switching is too slow and so I don't use it, turn it off. Orbit dribbling seems very underwhelming, so I'm currently not using that and have it turned off as well. Save assistance doesn't apply in online matches, so it doesn't matter. Analog sprint we don't need anymore, I think, because we now have the controlled sprint to replace it. And then finally, nobody wants trigger effects and vibrations. Speaking of the controlled sprint though, we are through with the controller settings now, but we have an amazing video on this very strong new feature, controlled sprint. So you should go watch that next and master it. Video is linked right here. You're going to destroy some opponents with that. See you there.